Lance, and I go to 1 intermediate and 3 elementary schools.
Great. Well, thank you. And I'm Debbie Shaw, and I will be your lovely hostess for today. So, well, good. Well, I'm excited to show you Read and Write for Google. I had met Jason a couple of weeks ago at the METC conference, and I'm glad to hear that you've been tinkering a little bit, Jason. That's great. And so I know that I'm going to show you ladies something interesting and exciting, and I hope that you will try this out with your students. The Read and Write for Google, and because I don't have the luxury of seeing you, I'll stop every once in a while just to check in, make sure that there's no questions. But if you have a question or you need to, you want to participate, certainly feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind that at all.
Great.
Read and Write for Google is a Google extension that gets deployed to the user's Google account. And so your district is a Google Apps for Education district, so everybody that has a district email account or access to their Google Drive is working inside of a Google Apps for Education domain. And what I'll make sure, and if I forget, please remind me, is that before we leave today, I'll make sure that you know how, as educators, you can access the extension yourself and then register your extension so that your trial never or doesn't expire, that you'll get a renewable yearly extension that you can continue to renew at no cost, so that you can play around with it, use it, and hopefully get comfortable with it so that you'll want to have it, have your students be using it. And I'll make sure that we do that before we wrap up for today. So, Read and Write for Google is a toolbar, and it's a toolbar that engages with different file formats that reside inside your Google Drive. And so you can see here in my folder here for my Google Drive, I've got some Google Docs, I've got some PDF files, I've got an EPUB file, so an electronic publication, so these are books. And I think here, if any of you have ever used Kurzweil, I've got a Kedzie file stored in here, as Read and Write for Google will also read Kedzie files. So different file formats, all being read by the same, or all being engaged with, I guess, by the same set of tools that are inside Read and Write for Google. The first thing we're going to look at today is a Google Doc. So when we talk about Google Apps for Education, we talk about Google Docs, Google Spreadsheet, Google Mail, Google Forms, Google Presentation. So all of those Google apps don't respond the same way with Read and Write. Right now, Google Docs is really the only Google app that it works seamlessly with. Our intention is to include these other Google apps soon, hopefully by next school year. But right now, we're just focused on making this work inside of Google Docs. And so when I have the extension deployed to my account, which I do, you can see that I have this little drop-down tab here underneath my address bar. And so when I click on this little tab, it drops down a set of tools that now are available to me when I'm working inside of this Google Doc. Now, the first thing, before we get into what the tools are, the first thing I want to point out is on the far right-hand side here, I have a little question mark, so that's my help button. And so that'll take you into our support page, which has FAQ questions that you can look at if you get stuck or need some refresher on something. And then this little gear shift is our settings icon. And so there aren't a lot of settings, but I do want to point out that there are a couple. So let's look at what you can set with Read and Write. The first thing is that this obviously is a built-in text-to-speech reader, so it has a voice. And so if I click on my voice drop-down, I get several different voices that are pre-populated write for Google. Now, a couple things to point out here. You'll see that several of these, the ones that are up here on the top, are US voices, and then I have a couple of UK voices.
I like that.
So all of these are English speaking voices.
Oh, they're all.
The UK voices will speak English with a lovely British accent. So
Debbie,
like that. Yes.
you've created quite a buzz here over that. That's pretty neat.
Well, why have
I wondered
created
about
a buzz over
Australia.
that?
Yeah, we're all looking for Australian voices right now.
Okay, well they're there. That was you stole my thunder here. That's exactly. We did. Australian Lee is very handsome sounding. So I
All right, let's put that in our
He's
notes.
my favorite.
I'm developing quite a complex as just a good old American sounding voice.
Well, Jason, you've got to go to Australia, and then you'll be cool.
Right.
How about Dutch?
So yes, there are Australian voices. So we'll definitely we'll start with Lee since we're having some fun with this. So we'll select Australian Lee. But my point was that those voices are English voices. All of these other voices, the German, the Italian, the Portuguese, the French, the Spanish, those are not going to read your English content with a lovely French accent. They're looking for French content. So in support of maybe some ESL students that maybe you have in the district, or as we look at this tool as a tool that supports all learners, if you have students who are taking a foreign language class, it's great to select a French voice and have French content presented, and then they can learn to read, more effectively and comprehend French content easier when using a text-to-speech in a different language. Okay, so that was my whole point with the voices. So we'll keep Lee on. I can also change how slow or how quickly he reads, and then I can select this to continuously read or to stop at the end of a sentence. This is important because with struggling readers, we want them to control when they go to the next sentence. Because if the computer just read and read and read and read, they may be stuck on something in the first sentence and not even be paying attention to what's currently being reading. So the ability to have it stop at the end of the sentence and for them to determine, do I need to have this read a second time? Am I ready to move forward? Do I want to look a word up in the dictionary? Is there something I didn't understand here? So they can control that. We'll set it to continuously read for now, but they have the option. And then the only other option here is the ability to do single word translation either into Spanish or French. And that's not that exciting. It just happens to be built into Google, and so I probably won't even, show that. And then finally, you've got a prediction option. So this is for word prediction, which we'll show you and we'll talk about. And then you have the ability to set how many words from 3 at the low end to 10 at the high end. The word prediction box predicts to the individual student, okay? So we'll keep it set at 10. And then that's it as far as settings. There isn't really a lot to set. So we'll click OK, and so now let's start looking at our tools. When
Debbie?
I hover over each of the top of the
Debbie,
tools,
can we jump in real quick? Sorry, we had a question.
Yeah.
We had a question for you.
Can you go back about that word prediction a little bit? Is that when they're typing or is that something when they're reading?
it's when they're typing.
Awesome.
It's when they're typing.
Okay.
Yep. So it's So if I'm a struggling writer, and I'll show you this in a second,
Okay.
if I'm a struggling writer, it will try and predict what word, based on the content of my sentence, what word might work next. So it's predicting a word ahead.
Okay.
I'm confusing you.
No, you're fine because we work with a lot of kids that struggle like with spelling and things like that. Will it also bring up different spellings and stuff too, or just word?
I will show you how it does that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Perfect. Great.
Yep. Okay, so if I hover over, I get a little pop-up box that tells me what the tools are. Now, keep in mind, this will read one sentence at a time. So wherever my cursor is positioned, I'm going to click the play button, and it will begin to read from the beginning of the sentence that my cursor is in. Now, a little technical issue here. I have been having all sorts of problems lately with the ability for my customers to hear my computer reading. So I think, knock on wood, that I may have figured that out, but I'm going to just play a couple of words and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask you if you can hear that, just so I know if you can or not, and then we'll play this a little bit more. So I'm going to hit the play button.
The fish in the aquarium was such a sight. The fish in the aquarium.
So are you hearing Lee read that in his lovely Australian accent?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, the
Great.
complex has gotten worse, by the way. Thanks a lot.
Oh, I don't take you for that kind of guy, Jason. Okay, so I want to point out, and we'll hear a little bit more of Lee in a second. I want to point out, you see that I clicked the play button, and then I wanted to pause it, so I clicked the pause button. And you can see that where it was reading, it's doing what we call dual synchronous highlighting. That means it's taking the sentence that we're reading, and it's highlighting that in a primary color, in this case in yellow. And then as it's reading each word in the sentence, it's highlighting each individual word in a secondary color, in this case blue. And so we care about that because there's research that was done several years ago, not by us, but by some third party, very reputable, smart people, that talked about when students use a text-to-speech tool with dual synchronous highlighting, their reading comprehension increases between 2 and 5 grade levels over a very short period of time. So for struggling readers or readers who are reading below grade level, to have the capability to have electronic text read aloud to them with the support of the dual synchronous highlighting really does help their reading comprehension. Okay? So if I wanted to pick up from where we left off, I just click the pause button again.
Was such a sight. The ostrich ran wild but could not fly. It was such a bright and sunny day.
So now he's reading a little slow for me. So remember, if we go back to those settings, I have the option of setting this to read a little bit faster. So it's set at slow right now, but that's a very specific user preference. So to some students, this may be even still too fast. So you may want to go to very slow flow. So that's just something you want your students to try out to see what's a good fit for them. Okay? And then, of course, when I'm done reading or I'm ready to move on to something else, I can just click the stop button and then that highlight goes away. So the ability to read text inside a Google Doc, which is accessible, meaning editable, very easy, play, pause, stop. Okay? Any questions about any of that?
Well, I just wanted to ask one question about a student that may be a strong reader, developing strong auditory skills, but they don't have the good visual skills. Is that some of the research that's being looked at? Because they're getting not only visual, but they're getting auditory.
That's exactly right. To be quite honest, it's been a long time since I've read the particular research that I referred to, and I'm happy to share that with you if you'd like to take a look at it. So I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe it does talk about the fact that, it's using multiple senses. Like you mentioned, you've got auditory and visual, which is what contributes to the reading comprehension going up so quickly is because it's doing not only the auditory, but also visually you're able to improve your vocabulary because now you're hearing and seeing those words as they're highlighted.
Right.
And on your end, if there is any delay, that's because of the GoToMeeting. I can assure you that that when you're in front of the computer, the sound and the visual are synced up perfectly. But I don't recall specifically how the research outlined that. But again, I'd be happy to share that with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else before we move on? We good?
Looks like we're good.
Okay, all right. So let's look at what other tools we have up here. One is the dictionary. So if there was a word, let's say this word ostrich here, I can just click my mouse in anywhere in the word and click the dictionary, and then I get a dictionary definition. I can click on this definition and it will read it out loud to me.
You got us excited again.
This bird was
What?
totally
What was it? What was that?
Sorry to interrupt. You got us excited again with all that.
Got too excited. Maybe I better go to English-speaking Ava. And so you can see that, I've got the dictionary definition. It will read that. I also have an image dictionary. So if I click on the picture dictionary, it will give me a visual of what this what ostrich is. And so I can have both of these dialog boxes open at the same time. And what I like about that is that as I'm engaged with my document, if there were other words I wasn't sure about, all I have to do is click on the word and my dictionary and my picture dictionary will repopulate with whatever the new word is. So I think this is great to kind of have those both open as students are working in here, and certainly might help them if they struggle with the definitions of certain words. Okay?
So
Now-
is it dictionary?
Yeah.
No, icon with the little black and white.
So we have a question about where the dictionary is found.
Point to that icon that's the dictionary on your screen.
Yeah, it's the third one. So I've got prediction, dictionary, and then picture dictionary. It
Okay.
looks like a little picture of a mountain with a sun on top of it. Okay.
There's YouTube videos on
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Now, my favorite tool combines both of the things that we just looked at, the picture dictionary and the dictionary definition. You see in my document, I've got a couple of words highlighted, and I've got several different highlighters on my toolbar. So let's say that the instruction was to highlight the words in this document that you may need help with, or you need more information about, or maybe it's highlight every animal or every verb or whatever it is. So I'm going to go through and let's say I select a couple of words, hippopotamus, and using any of the color highlighters, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be all the same. They don't have to be all different. Doesn't matter. And then let's say I'll click a couple of others. I'll highlight a couple of others. Let's do frown. So now I've got several single words. This doesn't work with phrases, unfortunately. Single words highlighted in my document that I need a little extra support with. So I now go back to my toolbar, and the very last tool here is called vocabulary. So if I click on my vocabulary, I get a little message that tells me a new document containing my vocabulary list is being created. This takes about 30 seconds or so, so you want to let your students know to be patient. And so now this is going to create a brand new Google Doc called Untitled Vocabulary List, and it will give me a
cool.
table with all of the words, the definitions, and the images for all of the words that I had highlighted in my document. And it does that automatically. I'm not creating the table, or I'm not, this is like not smoke and mirrors that I already had it on the back end. It does it that quickly. And now this is just a regular Google Doc. So perhaps I change this area and I say, this is your sentence. And so, now students have to, it was a bright and sunny day, right? So now they can engage with this document.
We have a quick question.
I'm sorry, if you change the, and I came in late to this, I apologize. If you change the, because you have an Australian accent right now, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if
Right.
you change it to American English, will it change the word colored, COLOURED, to English spelling?
Oh, great point. Great point. So yeah, I gotta make sure I address that again.
That's a fabulous question.
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we have a Australian voice selected. It has to do with our company is headquartered in the UK, in
Okay.
Ireland.
Okay.
And
So there will be some Britishisms.
It's what?
So there will be some Britishisms that come through.
Well, unfortunately, and we've tried to tell them that we need an American dictionary. That, you know, when like organization comes spelled with an S or color with a U, it screws our American kids up.
Yeah, right.
So they were supposed to be working on that. I haven't checked in a while. Clearly, we're not. You know, we haven't completely transitioned. But unfortunately, that's what it has to do with. And so,
Okay.
you know, I will see what I can find out and let you know, Jason. But
Okay.
for now, that's the issue. It's because we're a UK company and they're very self-centered over there. They think everything's about them.
They have their
So,
Those
so,
colonialists.
and you know, because this is just a regular doc, right? It can be read Sinead. So let's go back and we'll hear an American voice too, just so we can kind of hear what Ava. Ava is our default voice, and so if I click on Ava, let me just like make sure select that text.
It was a bright and sunny day.
Oh, here I didn't even know if you could hear that.
It was a bright and sunny day.
Okay, so she's a very, I think, natural sounding for a computer electronic voice.
Yeah.
You know, she's a pretty good voice. So, okay, so that's dictionary, picture dictionary, and then the vocabulary tool at the end. Okay?
Fabulous.
So I'm going to go back to my Google Doc here, and we talked a little bit earlier about word prediction. And spelling. So one of the tools that we have on our desktop product that we don't yet have on this product, which will probably be released with the next update shortly, is a spell checking tool. We do have a phonetic spell check tool in our other products. We anticipate that will be part of this very, very shortly. And so what that will do is for students who are phonetic spellers or who try to sound words out and really mess them up, they will have the ability to have the words that they actually mean presented to them. But with word prediction, and the way that this helps struggling spellers and writers is that it's presenting them with correctly spelled words. So if they use word prediction, the number of misspellings goes way down because they're selecting from words that are already properly spelled. So if I click on my prediction icon, it's going to open up a little dialog box, and I haven't even typed anything yet, and it's already giving me a list of potential words to choose from. Now, the way that word prediction works is it's actually taking a look at the most commonly used phrases in the English language. And so if we look at this list of words, it kind of goes along with these might be the top words that in most, English phrases you might start a sentence off with. And so keeping with our zoo theme, if I wanted to say, I saw an elephant at the zoo, that's where I'm trying to get to, right? I can, and you won't be able to hear me talk and hear this at the same time, so I'll be quiet in a second. As I hover over each of these words, it will read the word aloud to me.
The, to, up, and a.
Right? So if I wasn't sure what that word was, it will read it out loud. If I want the word I, all I have to do is click it, and then it now tries to predict the next word. I was, I think, I have, I do, but if I wanted to say I went, and I know it starts with a W, now it's giving me all W words, right? And so I can, I can hear that it says went. But better yet, remember we have our dictionary and our picture dictionary. If I click on my dictionary, and even my image-based dictionary, and now I click back into my sentence, if I hover over went, it
Wow.
will give me a definition of that word. And so now, if I'm not sure what word I might want to use, I get a little, some additional information here. So if I say I went to see an elephant, right?
Yeah.
And I say, and now let's say I have no idea how to spell elephant. So I'm going to sound it out, right? So I'll spell elephant, right? And so look what happens. I
Wow.
get the word elephant in my word prediction list.
I think we're
So
going to applaud.
it's-
Let's applaud, right?
I love applause. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, it's trying to phonetically map the word with what it thinks the student actually needs, right? So now if I select elephant, it's going to take that misspelled L-F-A-N-T and it will just replace it, okay? So that's how we can help struggling writers be better spellers, be more expressive in their writing because they're getting, some support. And then also to have some support to pick the word that they actually want to use in their sentence. Okay? Any questions about that?
I'd like to know why you didn't show us that at the conference.
Oh, did I not? I'm so glad. I wanted you to come back for more. That's why.
Okay, so which icon did you click on to make word prediction again?
The
The
first
first
one
one,
looks like
okay.
a little globe.
Thank you.
Okay? And so you can see when word prediction is engaged, that little icon has almost like a little shadow box around it. And then when I click it again, the box goes away and my list goes away. Okay? One other quick note, and this is helpful for students who may struggle with some fine motor skills. You'll notice that next to the words here, I do have a letter. And so if I wanted to use my keyboard to insert a word, let's say in this case I wanted the word and, I think I always do this wrong. It's option and then the number, no, it's control, the control button and then the number, and it will insert, the word into the sentence. Okay?
Control.
All right. So a great tool for a struggling writer. Another great tool for a struggling writer is the ability to dictate or use speech to text inside of a Google Doc. So I'm guessing that several of you, if not all of you, have worked with students that when asked to provide written response to information, whether it be a report, an extended response essay, a quiz that they had to write in full sentences, some students will sit and look at a blank piece of paper for a half an hour. They just don't know what to do. But if you sit next to them and you say, so, Johnny, tell me what you saw at the zoo today, they can talk your ear off for half an hour telling you some stuff. So the speech to text tool, which looks like a little headset right in the middle of my toolbar here, is a great way for students who have a difficult time expressing themselves in the written format to get their words into a written format by dictating their voice. Okay? So ideally you want to be using a headset with a mic next to your mouth, which I don't. I'm using the mic from the computer, so I'm a little far away from it, but we'll see how accurate I can get this. When I click on this for the first time, it will show like a little red recording button on top of that icon, letting me know that it's currently picking up my speech. And so I'm going to click on that, I'm going to say a couple sentences, and then we'll turn it off. I saw an elephant at the zoo today, period. New line. Those are big animals, period. I saw an elephant at the zoo today, period. Those are big animals. So 100% accuracy here. Now, when using something like dictation here, and I'm sure many of you have used something like Dragon in the past, we want to tell our students that there is a different voice that they need to use when dictating. So I may have a natural cadence to my speech or a natural speed in which I speak, but when I'm dictating, I want to be very deliberate in the way I'm speaking because that ensures a higher accuracy rate. So that's just more of a training issue. But even if it's not 100% accurate, to get 80 or 90% of the words in a document
That's
like
amazing.
this that a student wants to use, and then just go back and do some editing, I think is still pretty cool. You notice that it does there are certain commands, there's about 15 commands that it will recognize. So it recognizes punctuation, so I can say period, question mark, exclamation point, comma, etc. It recognized that I wanted a new line, so it will do new line or new paragraph. So that's dictation. So any questions about that or word prediction?
Ladies?
No, I don't think so.
Can you put in your own spelling words?
We have a question. Can we put in our own spelling words?
No. Right now, there isn't a way to, like if you wanted to maybe make sort of a word bank with specific words, for example, that came up frequently. Not yet. We're looking at doing some of that perhaps with word prediction so that if you wanted to select just words that had to do with zoos, those words would kind of come to the top of the list, but right now it doesn't work that way.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the highlighters in a second. The only other tool on here, nothing, earth-shattering, but it's the Fact Finder tool. With Fact Finder, it's just like doing a Google search inside of your toolbar here. So let's say I wanted to learn more about hippopotamuses. I can select the word, I can click Fact Finder, and then it goes out and does a quick search on hippopotamuses.
That's pretty earth-shattering. That's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm not going to get any applause for that. I know that. Okay. All right. So we're going to move away from this toolbar, and we're going to move to a web page. All right. And so a web page.
Oh, this is cool.
What?
I remember this part. This is cool. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. A web page gives us a little bit of different challenges than what that Google Doc provided for us. Because that Google Doc is, this has images and advertisements and banners and hot links and drop-down menus. There's a lot going on here. Now you'll notice, unlike that Google Doc, I don't have a little tab hanging from my toolbar here. But inside my address bar at the top, on the far right-hand side, you see that I have the little read and write for Google logo here. So if I click on that, it will pop in my little toolbar. Now, one of the things I hope you'll notice about this is that this looks almost identical to the toolbar that we had inside of Google Docs. So everything works almost the same. I have a dictionary, I have a picture dictionary, I have a vocabulary tool, I have highlighters, I can play, pause, stop. So I get 90% of these tools are the same. And so if I wanted to build a vocabulary list from the words I looked at in a web page, I could do that. I would select them, I would highlight them, and then I'd click the vocabulary tool. But there are two different tools on here, two new tools. One is this Hover Speech tool. What Hover Speech allows me to do is that when I click on it, any place I hover my cursor, I don't have to select, I don't have to click, I'm just going to hover my cursor and it will read the content to me. So this is a really good way to navigate around a very busy page. So I'm going to click on that. You see that my toolbar kind of gets grayed out, and I have got a little shadow box around hover speech. And so I'm going to kind of scroll down. I'm going to start to read. I'm going to hover my cursor over the middle of the content here.
In the 1980s, as many as 1 million elephants across Africa were killed for their ivory tusks.
Now I'm going to go up to the top of the page.
And other items. The illegal ivory trade has been major.
Now I'm going to go over to the far left-hand side.
at the very top.
Poachers and hunters have killed all news. Many site. Nation.
So all, and it will keep reading because I have it set for continuously read. So all I'm doing is hovering. I'm just putting my cursor on top of the text that I want read, and it's engaging. Now, I can do it the old-fashioned way. I can select a block of text and click the play button,
Over the past
and it will read that way as well, and I can pause it. It does the dual synchronous highlighting. So I have two different ways I can read text on a web page. But the ability to do that hover speech on a busy, kind of cluttered page, I think is a helpful tool. So speaking of clutter, what if a page like this is distracting to a student? The other new tool I have here is the ability to simplify this page and getting rid of the clutter. So I'm going to click Simplify Page. It's going to open up a new tab, and it's going to put a new HTML, so a web page formatted tab with just the text from that document. No advertisements, no images, no drop-down menus, no banners, none of the other stuff, just the text. So someone who gets distracted by that other piece, that other kind of page, this might be a really nice way for them to, just have the text. You'll notice up here that I've got a plus and minus sign. So I can simplify, this may still be too much text for some students. So I can subtract redundant text from this document by clicking the minus sign. So watch what happens if I click it several times. You'll notice that my text, I get a lot less of it, to the point where I wind up with only 5 or 6 sentences. Well, at some point,
That's how I want to read the
important
news.
information is being stripped out. So this is great to help struggling readers begin to read a lot of content, but then add the content back in by clicking the plus sign so that they're assured of getting the important facts about this article, okay? So that's this plus and minus simplify page.
Differentiation.
Now, what?
Differentiation.
Differentiation, sorry.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's kind of the key. I mean, even like that little vocabulary tool is a great differentiator because your words may be different from my words. So, absolutely. Now, I did point out that I can click my little icon again in my menu bar, and I still get the same tools in this Simplify page that I have on any web page. But keep in mind that this isn't a Google Doc. Like when we created that vocabulary list, it put a new document in my drive. This is just a web page that once I close it, it's gone. So, but what if I wanted to do I'm doing research on elephants, and I wanted to collect some of the text that I'm reading from this document. I'm going to use my highlights again. And so let's say, I'm going to just highlight a couple of important pieces here. And I'm kind of really not reading this, so I don't know if these are really the most important place things, but you get the point. So I'm going to highlight some content here, and we'll do one more here. And now I want to collect these highlights and extract them from this document. And I've got a little collect highlights button here. and it asks me, do I want to collect them by color or by position? Do I want to collect just certain colors? But I'll click OK. And now this is a new Google Doc. This will put a new Google Doc extracting the highlights that I had in that document into a new document that is now editable. So now, if I wanted to get rid of these highlights, I just select, and now I've got a clear highlights button. And now I can, I can use this info to build my paper, whatever, right? But I want to point out, if I go back to the original document, remember this was the document that this extracted page pulled from. If I go back to this original document, I can do the same thing with the original document, right? Pulling some data, and I click collect highlights. But what I like about this now is it opens up a new Google Doc. It puts the link to that original page into my doc. So now if I pulled this to use in a research paper and I want to go back and cite this at some point, now I've got that link that I can go right back to at any other time. Okay? Questions or thoughts about that?
I heard a wow.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Google lets you collect all sorts of information, and this product came out about 18 months ago, something like that. And I think last week we're over 1.5 million users of this tool.
Fantastic.
And which is awesome. And we've collected data, and the highlighters are the second most used tool after word prediction.
Really?
So, yeah, I was kind of surprised at that. So, because if you think about it, for districts that really want to be able to provide all of their students with access to the same tools and not just special ed kids,
Right.
this tool is great no matter if I'm in a gifted class or if I have an IEP. I'm still doing the same kind of research. It's just the 2015 version of the note card, really. So, all right, so we are going to move to our third and final toolbar, unless there are some questions about the toolbar inside of a web page. Okay.
I think we're good.
We're good. All right.
Okay.
So the last tool we're going to look at is a PDF file.
Okay.
So let's talk about PDFs because they can cause us some issues. Let me ask you this. So do any of you ever need to take hard copy information like a worksheet or an article from a magazine and turn it into an electronic format like a PDF? Do you ever have to do that, or do you do that currently
I'd
with
like to do that.
information?
I'd like
You'd
to do
like to do
that.
that.
Uh-huh.
But can
Okay.
you take like a worksheet that a kid's supposed to handwrite, put it in, and then
Right.
they could finish typing in it? Does that make sense?
It does. And you are going to be prepared to clap again. Okay?
We love clapping.
Because I will show you that in just a few short minutes.
Okay.
Yes. But here's the problem, and this may confuse you, and so I don't mean to confuse you, but when you have hard copy information that you are turning into an electronic format, and you scan it using a scanner, for example, or if you run it on your high-speed copier that lets you email yourself a PDF file, you need to be conscious of whether or not you are just taking a picture of that hard copy page or you are actually converting that hard copy to OCR text, optical character recognized text. Because anytime you take a hard copy document and you make it electronic, it's got to go through a conversion process so that the computer knows there's actually words on the page and not just one big picture of a page. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sort of? Jason, help me out here.
Yes, we're good.
We got
So,
messed up in all the
Right.
Right.
abbreviations there.
Acronyms and abbreviations sent us for a loop, but we're good.
I know, that's why I made sure I told you OCR, optical character recognized text, right? So I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. But this document that I have up is accessible, meaning it can be read, the computer can engage with it. But you notice that my toolbar looks a little bit different than it did in the other two places. When you open up a PDF, or you open up a EPUB formatted document, like a book. And I'm going to go back to my file here. So see where I have these PDFs here. In my settings, I have this set to automatically default by opening into the Read and Write for Google toolbar. If I right-click on any of these PDFs, see where it says open with, and now I can choose to open it with any number of different PDF readers. Mine is default to Read and Write for Google, and I do that just up in my settings. So if you open up a PDF and you don't see those reader tools, well, it's because you haven't opened it using Read and Write for Google, okay? And so if I go back to this, remember where we looked at hover speech a minute ago? I've got a very similar tool called Click to Speak. So when I click on that, and then I click anywhere in my document,
In shortage, changes in temperature, changes in length of daylight.
right? So it will read me the text. I'm just going to stop that because we've already heard Ava read us lots of different text. But similar to the web page, I can navigate by clicking wherever I want. Right? So I can read the text. I can also, again, kind of do it the old-fashioned way down here. I can click, select the text and click play. All right, now so I've got click to speak, I've got play, and I've got stop. And then right next to it, I've got my study skills tool. Now, if I click on the toolbar, if I click inside this little, on this icon, you notice now I get an X. That means my study skills is disabled. When I click on it again, it is enabled. So what that means is when I click inside a word, it opens up my little study skills toolbar, and now this should look familiar. I've got my dictionary, my fact finder, we didn't look at translator, but my translator, my picture dictionary, and all my highlighters. So if I wanted to build a vocabulary list here, right, I can do it the same way as I did before. Let's see, magnetic, we'll do that one, right? And I've got the vocabulary list here, so it's going to ask me, it's going to open up a new Chrome Google Doc in a second. Now remember, this takes about 20 or 30 seconds. And so I get the same supports. So here, journey, sea, sun, right? So the same thing that I did inside a Google Doc, I can do inside this PDF. Same exact thing. So, but what's new here, and I can also collect highlights, so I can do research like I did on that web page. But what's new is the ability to annotate inside of a PDF file. And so you see that I have these little red push pins here. Well, that's one kind of annotation because there's a lot of text here. There isn't a lot of space for me to write or annotate my notes. So assume maybe that my teacher gave this to me, and if I click on that little annotation button,
So good.
it tells me to highlight 3 migration facts that you'd like to study further. Okay, so maybe I, highlight a couple facts, and so I use those little annotation buttons as directions inside the document. Or if I wanted to make my own note, I could click on my little annotation button here. Right now, there's an X on it, so it's disabled. But when it is enabled, now my cursor turns into a big red push pin. So I can click on there, and now I can add my own note directly into this document. I click OK, close it up, And now my push pin stays there, so that when I click on that, there is my note. But to your point, whoever asked that great question, let me see, I think I have, I think this here. Here's a PDF that is a quiz, all right? And so I want to be able to, I'm gonna close some of this up. I want to be able to type right inside this document here. So I have a new tool here called my typewriter annotation. So with typewriter annotation, you can see when it's red, it means it's engaged. And so wherever I position my cursor, so today is March 10th, 2015, I click the checkbox. Now I can type right inside my document. Wherever there is white space, if there is white space, I can add my own notes or type information into a document. Okay? Click OK, and now it stays there. So that's how I could take a worksheet that was already accessible, meaning if I clicked on click to speak, it will read to me.
Bioengineering. A. The variety of plants.
So see, the computer knows that this is readable text. Otherwise, if it's just an image of a picture, the computer's not going to know to read the content there. So
OCR.
when converting or when scanning or copying hard copy information or using existing documents that are already PDF files, you have to be sure that they've gone through a conversion process. So how do you do that? Well, if you had a flatbed scanner and that had the support for OCR, optical character recognition, you could use your scanner. We have an add-on tool called SnapVerter that will allow you to convert the documents through software. So here's my Google Drive again. Here is my SnapVerter folder. So I click on that, and you'll see that I've got a couple of folders embedded into that. But first I want to show you a document. Here is a document I took a picture of with my phone. So if I take a picture of a worksheet or a document or an article with my phone, the computer sees this just as a picture file. It's a picture of a page. It's not readable text. So if I upload this picture into my SnapVerter folder, see where it says drop files here to convert. All I would have to do would be either upload or just drag that file into this folder. And then after about 2 or 3 minutes, it goes through a conversion process. And now if I look into my finished file, I've got something called glossary. And so it's going to open up a new document. Now this looks identical to the one that I just showed you, right? But no, this is a PDF file. This is not an image-based file because it went through a conversion process through SnapVerter. And now, using my click to speak,
Metamorphosis. The changes in shape that certain animals go through as they grow from.
A picture off your camera thumb.
So,
That's ridiculous.
And I can add to this. So I've got, I can add my own notes too. So I've taken that hard copy document and I've converted it into a readable, editable file format that I can use Read and Write for Google with.
I just passed out and woke back up.
Did you get like a brain freeze or something?
Oh no, it's just the amazing nature of that. It's so cool.
Okay, so where do you go back to find it after you pull it into your SnapVerter? Where do you find it again?
So I go to SnapVerter, and SnapVerter, and you can download this from the Chrome Web Store as a trial as well. And so it will give you these 4 folders. I didn't have to create this. This is already part of SnapVerter. So I have my drop files here, and then my finished
right
folder
there. Okay.
is where I have my finished documents that have already been converted. If there is a problem, it will show up in failed uploads, because sometimes based on certain file formats, it doesn't work well. And then if a document is in progress, it will be listed in the in progress folder.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. So, and I don't necessarily need to show you this, but just to point out, the other file format that we have is EPUB. So if you have a book that is in an EPUB format, we can read that with Read and Write as well. And so this is the Jungle Book, and this is just a book that I downloaded from the Gutenberg Library, I think. You know, that's, you know, what do they call that, non-copywritten, or the copyright has already,
Right,
you know,
public
passed.
domain.
Public domain, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. And so I get the same tools with the addition of a table of contents, as well as the ability to change and edit the font size and style. So, if any of you do ever use Bookshare books or Daisy File books at all?
No.
No? Okay, so this would also be how you might use a
But
Daisy
you
File.
can change the font for kids that might need it bigger, or
Yep, you can.
contrast
So
or
if I go to
something
my
like that.
font size here, I
There you go.
can make this extra large, and so you'll see that, right? If
I know, right?
scroll to that,
So cool.
you know, really big font.
can you add contrast, like to the background, or change the color of the font?
Oh, great question. Let's see. I think you
Yeah,
can
I saw that
change
in
the
there.
page color. So
Yeah.
you can do something like that, but I don't think you
No,
can
just X out of it.
change the.
All your notes are saved.
You're gonna have black text still, but for some forms of autism, you know, the color does matter.
Uh-huh.
So you do have the option of doing that.
Okay.
Cool.
Not autism, dyslexia. Sorry, dyslexia.
Well, autism too. I mean, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. There you go. So, all right. So we are at 1 minute to 4. So I've taken up 59 minutes of your time. Questions, comments, thoughts? Jason, where do we go from here? What can I help with?
Well, let's address questions first. You guys have any?
My question is probably more to you. Like, so now we kind of have this information. How do we go about being able to start utilizing it?
Right, and that's what she'll dive into here in a little
Okay.
while. You guys have anything as far as this PDF deal? Any
No.
other clarifiers? We're all good?
I think it's kind of cool that we can go in and write on PDF because we
Right.
have files that we upload down.
Thank you.
We can't write.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Once they're uploaded, we can't.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
But I think it's amazing that a teacher could take a worksheet. If a kid doesn't have good handwriting, could take a picture on their phone, put it in there, and they could actually fill out.
That's ridiculously cool.
That
Yeah.
that is amazing.
So the
Yes.
free trial,
Absolutely.
the,
one
the
thing
trial on
is to-
Transverter is good, how long?
This would be questions for her.
So SnapVerter gives you, the trial is 10 conversions, so 10 documents initially, and you can do them all in one day, or you can spread those out over the course of a couple weeks. And then after you've used your 10, you only get one a week. If you need more than that, then that's part of the fee-based program.
And how much is that?
It would depend on what kind of license you had. So if you were just had a single license, like teachers are free, and I'll show you teachers in a second. But unfortunately, based on our some of the technology that we license, we can't sell SnapVerter to individual licenses. So it has to be part of a group or a domain license. So it would have to be something that the district purchased. And then it's 30% on top of whatever your cost of Read and Write was. So for example, let's say Jason is convinced that this is a great tool for the entire district and he wants to buy it for everybody. The cost for everybody is $1.50 a student. Then to add SnapVerter on top of that, it would be 45 cents, which is 30% of $1.50. if Jason said, well, we like it, we're not ready to go with every student yet, let's just do a group so that we cover our IEP kids, then the license is $10 a student. So then SnapBurger would be an additional $3, but you get 5 teacher licenses. You don't have the capability to have every student use it. You only get 5 licenses of SnapBurger.
Just do special ed, it's
With the
$54.
domain license, you could essentially, if you wanted, and you probably, maybe not at the elementary level, but high school kids could do that conversion themselves. With the domain license, you can get a SnapBurger license for everybody that has a license. So you're unlimited there.
So Jason's budget is not at play here. This would be Linda's
Right.
budget. So Linda's here.
But I don't know if we're talking, because I can see this affecting more than special ed
Mhm.
students,
Right.
so I think it's a bigger discussion, like
Oh,
a
yes.
Ryan discussion
Mhm.
budget,
Or an owl.
or an Al discussion budget, so, because you were talking,
Well, and that's exactly what happens. And we've actually, and that's why I was so glad, that Jason as instructional technology, was excited, because special ed teachers, this is a no-brainer for special ed. But to be able to have it easy to manage and to foster true collaboration so that every student has the same tools, you need the support of your gen ed and your IT folks. And so getting them involved in the conversation so that they can see the value of having this available to every student at $1.50 versus $10 a student, makes a huge difference.
well, and just as we go through the evaluation process, there are so many students that don't meet criteria for special education, but they might have a writing issue, because
Of course,
OT
absolutely.
can't be a standalone
yeah.
service, so we
Absolutely.
can't provide that, but this, so yeah, it's bigger than special ed.
So, but is there any, can we use this individually as practitioners at all, or do we have to have the license?
Yeah, so let me tell you how you do that.
Okay.
So I'm in the Chrome web store right now. So you just go to the Chrome web store, and then you can just search. The easiest thing to do is search on Text Help. That's our company name. And so when I click on Text Help, here is Read and Write for Google, okay? And then here it's SnapBurger. So you have to have Read and Write for Google first before you can get SnapBurger. That might not be a true statement, but they're both in the same place, all right? Now, once you download Read and Write for Google, it will only give you a 30-day trial unless you register your teacher account with us. So for your students, you can have them try this out by downloading it have them download it themselves when they're logged into their Google account, but they'll only get 30 days. The way that you as teachers can extend it is that you go to this page, and unfortunately I don't know how to, other than having you copy this link down, and I can send this to Jason in an email,
Great.
but you can copy this link down, and then whatever account, now this is important for anybody that has multiple Google accounts, you have to be signed into Chrome with your district account, and then that's the account name that you put in terms of your Google ID here, okay? And then once you do that, your 30-day trial converts to a full year. And then at the end of a year, if you're still using it, you still like it, you just register again and you get another year. And so on and so on.
So we get it for free in the Read and Write.
Right.
Teachers get it for free.
And
Teachers
SnapBurger
get it for
too?
free, right?
And then do teachers get SnapBurger for free, or is that?
They get the 10.
Unfortunately, it's for free up to the level I talked about, the 10
Okay.
plus
And then
one.
1 week?
Okay.
10 and then 1 a week, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay, these are all great questions.
Okay.
Got anything else?
Hmm.
Team Ray Peck. Oh.
We don't have Chromebooks.
Yeah, I knew that.
I know. Can you only, is this only work on a Chromebook? Does that make sense? Is this
Debbie,
only
the
work-
question
Well, I
the
know,
question
but-
before us is,
Mickey.
does this only work on a Chromebook?
No, it works on a Chromebook, a Mac, or a PC. that has the Chrome browser as long as you are logged into your Chrome account.
So the ladies wanted you to say yes, you needed a Chromebook, but thank you very much for clarifying.
Well, we don't have a PC or we don't have,
Oh yeah,
we
well.
don't have any of that.
I don't have,
But
Well,
you
I
could.
will tell
you
you,
use that in
from
your-
a student perspective, it's much easier with a Chromebook because when you're on a Chromebook, you have to log into the Chrome browser.
Right.
sure.
When you're on a desktop, you can be logged into Chrome. You can be in a Chrome browser. I can be in my Google Drive, but I might not necessarily be logged into Chrome, and so that sometimes causes people
Right.
tremendous confusion. The other piece of this, if you have any Android or iPad tablets, is that once you have a license or a Free for Teacher subscription, we also have a customized keyboard for tablets that will give you some of the same tools that we just looked at, but on the tablet.
And are you guys expanding on that as you go? Is that a frequently updated app?
It just came out in January, so I don't know. I think, quite honestly, it will really depend on the usage and adoption of it from our customers. I mean, you can see by having 1.5 million users of Read and Write for Google in less than 2 years, this is a product that we are continuing to update, and we are
Right.
continuing to evolve based on our customer feedback. It just depends on if those other programs will get used. If they don't, they'll kind of fall by the wayside, I think.
Sure.
I don't know. Too early to tell.
Use it or lose it.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any other questions, ladies? Are we good to go?
Oh, we'll have some for
Kinda
you down the
I'm
road.
sure.
I'm sure.
Duly noted, right?
Right. Well,
That's
Jason,
why I wanted all the questions on that one document. Say again, please.
I'm going to send you an email that has all of the different pricing and deployment options.
Fantastic.
Did I do that already? Did I send you that?
No, I don't have that yet.
Okay. So I'll send that, and it will also have the links to Free for Teachers and the registration page.
Fabulous.
So you can feel free to forward that to whomever you'd like. And my contact information will be on there. So if any of you have any questions, certainly feel free to call me. If you have any technical questions, something's not working right, you're not seeing the extension, then that would be better to call our tech support, and I'll make sure that information is on the email as well.
Debbie, one last question. Do you have a Twitter handle that we can reference?
Yes, we do, and I think it's embedded in my signature.
Is it? Okay, let me go check that real quick.
Email, so I will. I'll make sure that that's on there as well. I mean,
Super.
I do personally, as all of the Text Help salespeople, and I'll make sure you have mine as well.
Perfect.
And then Text Help has one as well.
Super, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you everybody for joining me.
Thank you. Lots of good stuff.
Your district.
Yeah.
This is great.
Thanks, we'll be in
Thank
touch.
you.
All right. Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
This is amazing. But I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
like,
Now
now
we
I
need
gotta
to-
go play with it because I'm like,
There's
right.
so much.
Would we like to provide feedback for that?
That was
Well, it's
really
great.
That's
Yeah, girl, I
amazing.
need some, yeah, just the amount
I
of
had
stuff
no idea that you
that's
could
out
do
there
so.
that's,
I mean, those are
I
all
had
things that
no
I've been
idea.
trying to piecemeal together on a computer
Right.
with
and I just think it was
chunky
very
stuff.
coincidental that the day I asked you about it. It's
Was
like,
the
Right.
day.
You
I
got
was
all
like,
this
oh
information.
my gosh, this is such good
That's
timing.
cool.
And I figured if I could get on and figure out how to, because I am not technologically
Oh,
inclined, if I could get on and at least play with it and make
Right.
it work, even at the very beginning, then you guys that play with stuff all the time.
What would we give her as feedback?
Well, I think she did great.
great
Wow.
info, good speed of presenting to
Yeah.
us.
My biggest problem is now going to be like actually getting the program and playing with it because that was
Maybe we just need to do that next Tuesday, but we'll have to come up with our Chromebook.
Well, and I wonder on April, and I know that's a month out, but April 2nd is PD in the afternoon. I don't know what you guys have planned,
something like that.
but that's the last PD day of the year, I believe, but and it's half day. So that might
Mm-hmm. Good chance to work.
Yeah.
And she's going to send this soon because it's in her best
Sure.
interest to do so.
So we can